I know it may sound strange, but I was the one who asked my husband to go out with another woman. Yes, exactly what you just heard. A wife asking her own husband to go out with someone else. Most people, when they hear this, immediately think of betrayal, abandonment, or even madness. But what no one knew was that there was a much greater and deeper reason behind that request. At that moment, my husband looked at me in complete confusion, unable to understand a thing. I remained calm, with serenity in my eyes, because I knew that decision would change his life. What seemed like a painful choice would, in reality, reveal a love that had long been forgotten. And before I go on, I need to ask you, have you been truly valuing the people who matter most in your life? Or will you only realize their importance when it's already too late? This is the story of how a simple dinner changed everything, and how what seemed like a strange request became one of the greatest lessons of love, loss, and gratitude I have ever experienced. So don't leave this video. Watch carefully until the very end, and if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, do it now. Many people watch our videos but forget to subscribe. And trust me, you won't want to miss the next emotional stories like this one. I remember my husband's face as if it were yesterday when I spoke those words. He was tired, had just arrived home from work, and suddenly I said, "Honey, I want you to go out with another woman." His eyes widened, he almost dropped his briefcase on the floor, and he answered in disbelief, "You must be joking." But I wasn't. I knew exactly what I was saying. I took a deep breath and calmly replied, "No, I'm not joking. I really want you to go out with her." He remained silent for a few seconds, trying to figure out my intentions. I could see in his eyes the storm of thoughts. Did she find out something? Does she not love me anymore? Is this a test? I knew him well, and I could tell that jealousy and confusion were filling his mind. But deep down, my heart was steady, because the truth behind my request had nothing to do with betrayal. It had everything to do with love. I looked straight into his eyes and said, "Trust me. I want you to call her and invite her to dinner. That's it." He leaned back in the chair, ran his hands through his hair, and sighed. "I don't understand you. Why are you asking me to do?"
When he finally picked up the phone, his voice was still trembling. He didn't know how to begin, didn't know what words to use. On the other end came the answer. "Hello?" It was his mother's voice. Fragile, aged by time, yet still filled with warmth. He took a deep breath and said, "Hi, Mom. It's Michael." There was silence for a few seconds. Then, with emotion in her voice, she answered, "Son, is everything all right? Did something happen?" He hesitated, looked at me as if asking for courage, and then said, "Everything's fine, Mom. It's just that I wanted to invite you to dinner with me, Saturday night." Again, silence. A silence so long he almost thought the call had been dropped. But then her voice returned, trembling, broken with tears. "Are you serious? Just you and me?" "Yes, Mom. Just the two of us." At that moment, I realized how much this meant to her. My mother-in-law was almost 85, a widow, and my husband was her only child. She lived alone, with only a caregiver during the day. But loneliness was her most constant companion. Work, career pressures, the responsibilities with our children, and the rush of life had all kept my husband from spending time with her. Deep down, I knew she carried an immense longing for her son. A longing he hadn't even noticed. That's why, as his wife, I made the decision to remind him of what truly mattered. That night, after the call, he sat silently on the couch. I approached him and whispered softly, "See, this was the other woman I wanted you to go out with. The woman who gave you life, who so many times went hungry so you could eat. The woman who read you stories when you couldn't read yet, who held your hand through the hardest moments." He lowered his head, and I could see his eyes filling with tears. Perhaps it was the first time in a long while that he truly thought about the emptiness his absence created for her. I continued. I don't want you to lose her without living the moments only you two can share. Go, enjoy this dinner, and do it not just for her, but also for yourself. My husband didn't answer. He just nodded, swallowing hard. But inside, I knew that dinner would change everything. Miguel's mother, Mrs. Helena, had spent the last few days in prayer and deep anxiety. Her heart carried a heavy mixture. On one hand, the fear of how that reunion might unfold, and on the other, the hope that finally her son, after so many years of war, pain, and silence, could find a fragment of peace. She had planned every detail of the dinner as if it were a ritual of healing. She chose a traditional restaurant, not luxurious, but warm and welcoming, the kind of place that holds the soul of a city within its walls. The rustic wooden tables, the aroma of fresh bread, the soft sound of a piano in the background. Everything seemed to invite forgiveness and conversation. On the appointed day, she arrived first. She wore a simple navy blue dress and a pearl necklace she had kept since her youth. Her gray hair was tied back in a neat bun, but her hands trembled as she held her purse. She asked the waiter to reserve the table near the window, from where she could see the street lit by old-fashioned lampposts. Miguel arrived a few minutes later. His eyes carried a mix of distrust and expectation. His body still bore the posture of years in uniform. Upright, rigid, precise. But there was also a softness in him now. The softness of someone who, after surviving, finally realizes he needs to reconnect with his roots. "Mother," he said softly, approaching the table. Mrs. Helena stood slowly. For a moment, she couldn't speak. She just embraced him, as if she wanted to recover all the lost years in one single gesture. Tears fell easily, soaking her son's shoulder. "I thought I would never hold you like this again, Miguel," she whispered, her voice trembling. He held her tight against his chest, struggling to contain his own emotions. "I thought so too, Mother. But I'm here." They sat down. The waiter brought the menu, but for several minutes neither of them could look at it. It was as if their eyes had to relearn how to look at each other's face. "You look different," she said, touching his face gently, noticing the faint scars that war had left behind. "But you're still my boy." Miguel smiled with melancholy. "War changes everything, Mother. But I never stopped being your son." The conversation began timidly, with trivial questions. About his journey, about her health, about the neighbors. But little by little, the words grew deeper. Miguel spoke of the years he had spent away, of the friends he had lost, of the cold nights where the only comfort was to remember the smell of his mother's cooking. "I can't erase the images," he confessed, staring fixedly at his glass of wine. "I still hear screams at night. I still feel the weight of everything I saw and lived." Mrs. Helena placed her hand gently over his. "Son, the war took a lot, but it didn't take you. You came back. And as long as you are alive, there will always be a path to start again." Tears ran down Miguel's face, but he didn't look away. "Sometimes I think I don't deserve to start again." "Don't say that," she interrupted firmly. "What you did was out of duty, out of survival. It is not your fault to carry the marks of what happened. You will always have a home in me, Miguel." The waiter brought their food. Mushroom risotto for her and beef with sauce for him. But more than the taste, it was the silence between one sentence and another that nourished that dinner. Suddenly, Miguel remembered a scene from his childhood. "Do you remember, Mother, when I came back from school and you always had warm bread waiting on the table?" Mrs. Helena chuckled softly. "How could I forget? You used to complain if the crust wasn't crunchy enough." "Exactly," he said, smiling for the first time with genuine lightness. "I dreamed of that bread in the trenches. That memory gave me strength to keep going." Their laughter quickly dissolved into a deeper emotion. They realized that, even after all the years apart, there was an invisible thread that had never broken. The dinner continued, interspersed with memories and silences. With every word, the burden seemed to grow lighter. With every look, a new chance was being built. When dessert arrived, a simple flan, Miguel held his mother's hand tightly. "Mother, I don't know if I can be the man I was before." She looked at him with tender eyes. "And who said you need to be? You don't need to go back to who you were, my son. You just need to be who you are now. And that is enough for me." In that moment, something inside Miguel broke. A shell built over years began to fall apart. The soldier gave way to the son, the fighter to the boy who only needed to be loved. The dinner ended, but the reunion had only just begun. Leaving the restaurant, under the soft glow of the night, Mrs. Helena walked slowly, supported by her son's arm. He in turn felt lighter. As if that night had been the first step toward freeing himself from the ghosts of war. As they walked toward the car, she said, almost like a prayer, "Love heals, Miguel. It always heals." And for the first time in many years, he truly believed those words. After that night at the restaurant, something changed within me as well. As his wife, I realized just how much my husband needed that reunion. He came back home lighter, with a smile I hadn't seen in a long time. His eyes were different, less harsh, less burdened. And when he approached me that night, he hugged me tightly and said, "Love, thank you for reminding me that I still have a living mother and that I need to take care of her." My heart swelled with gratitude. I knew that, even without going with him, that dinner had healed wounds only a mother could touch. In the following days, Miguel began visiting his mother more often. Sometimes it was just for coffee. Other times, he brought flowers. There were days when he didn't say a word, just sat beside her in silence. Yet it was in that silence that the most profound conversation took place. Mrs. Helena, at 85, seemed rejuvenated. The neighbors' friends began commenting on how happy and lively she appeared. I noticed myself that with each visit from her son, she seemed to gain new life, a renewed spirit. But time is relentless, and the body of an elderly woman cannot endure forever. Just over a month after that dinner, we received news that changed our lives. Mrs. Helena had passed away during the night, peacefully in her sleep. When Miguel found out, he was in shock. He cried like I had never seen before. The pain seemed to cut through his very soul. Yet, at the same time, there was a strange sense of peace inside him. He kept repeating to me, "I made it, love." I made sure she knew how much I loved her before it was too late. A few days after the funeral, a letter arrived at our home. It was addressed to Miguel. The shaky handwriting revealed the effort his mother had put into writing her final words. He opened it with trembling hands and began reading aloud. "My dear son, that dinner we shared was one of the happiest moments of my life. I felt as though time had turned back, as if I had my little boy beside me again. I knew deep in my heart that I did not have much time left. That is why I paid for everything at the restaurant so that, if I could not have dinner with you again, you could take your beloved wife in my place. I want you both to celebrate life together, even in my absence. With eternal love, Mom." When he finished reading, tears streamed down Miguel's face like a heavy rain. I held him tightly, and in that moment, I felt that the letter was not just a farewell, but a call to live with more love, urgency, and gratitude. And that is exactly what we did. The silence in the house that morning felt heavier than ever. Mrs. Helena's absence weighed in every room, in every corner, as if the air carried the emptiness left by death. Miguel sat in the living room, staring out the window, unable to speak. I approached slowly, sitting beside him, holding his hands. "Love," I began, my voice trembling. "I know it hurts, but she knew how much you loved her." He shook his head, tears falling silently. "I know, but it hurts so much. I wanted one more night, one more hug, one more chance to tell her I loved her." I held him tightly. "And you said it all, Miguel. She knew, she felt it. There is no regret where there is true love." A few days later, he received the letter she had written. leaving everything paid at the restaurant. Reading it again, his eyes filled with tears, but this time there was also a sad smile. He realized that the letter was more than words. It was a legacy, a way to remain present in our lives even after death. She wanted us to keep living, he said, voice choked with emotion. To not stop celebrating life, even without her. From that moment on, Miguel changed. He was no longer just a man returning from war. He was a son who had learned to cherish every moment with his mother, with his family, with everyone he loved. And I, as his wife, felt privileged to witness this transformation. Every day, Miguel honored Mrs. Helena in our hearts. He told our children stories about the moments he spent with her, about the strength, tenderness, and love she always gave. Each memory planted a seed in our children's hearts, so they could understand the importance of valuing those we love while they are alive. Love, he said one afternoon, holding my hand. We cannot leave for tomorrow what we can do today. Life is short, and love must be shown now. And I agreed, feeling the weight and beauty of the lesson Mrs. Helena left us. We learned that the pain of loss can only be softened when we understand the value of affection, attention, care, and presence. In the end, Miguel's story became more than a tale of war or loss. It became a living reminder that love must be lived and shown while we have time. Every small gesture, every word of kindness, every tight hug is more valuable than any wealth or achievement. If there is one message I want to leave with you, listening now, it is this. Do not wait until tomorrow to say, I love you. Do not wait to hug, to visit, to smile together. Take care of your family, value the moments, show love today while they are alive. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, do it now. Don't wait, because life passes quickly, and we don't want to miss the chance to share stories that touch hearts and teach the value of family, empathy, and true love. Comment below if you've ever had an experience that made you realize the importance of cherishing those you love. Your story can inspire others to act before it's too late. Mrs. Helena is gone, but she left us an eternal legacy. The legacy that true love must be lived, felt, and shared every day.